Good morning and welcome, fellow pilgrims and friends, to our daily devotional on Thanksgiving Day 2020. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you, and thank you for joining us this morning. This week, we have been looking closely at Isaiah 64, verses 1 through 9. And this morning, I would like for us to focus on verse 5, that is the second part of verse 5, 5b through the end of 7, 5b, 6, and 7. So this is Isaiah 64, 5b, 6, and 7 from the New Revised Standard Version. But you were angry, and we sinned. Because you hid yourself, we transgressed. We have all become like one who is unclean, and all our righteous deeds are like a filthy cloth. We all fade like a leaf, and our iniquities, like the wind, take us away. There is no one who calls on your name or attempts to take hold of you, for you have hidden your face from us and have delivered us into the hand of our iniquity. So there are two thoughts I would like for us to reflect upon from this passage in preparation for Advent. The first has to do with an attitude of penitence, an approach of penitence to Advent that is a recognition of our faults and our sinfulness, the ways in which we know that we have not lived up to the ideals that we have set for ourselves and that we wish to live by. And beyond that, I think a general attitude of humility is required for us to be able to receive the Christ child in this season, in order for us to be able to see and hear and feel the presence of Christ. I think this approach of humility is extremely important, and it goes together with this idea and Isaiah, the recognition of our shortcomings, and how, as we said in the Bible study on Tuesday night, that when we participate in things that we know are short of what we should be doing, or when our selfishness gets the best of us, it begins to feel as if God is not present, and it becomes more and more difficult to see the presence of God in other people and in creation around us. So it's extremely important that we, I think, each day in this Advent season, approach God with humility and penitence, an open heart to receive the peace of Christ. And then the other part of this passage that I think is very important, and that's twice in these three verses that the prophet mentions the hiddenness of God. That is, that God has hidden God's self, both in verse 5 and verse 7. This idea of God being hidden is very difficult for us, I think, in our culture, in our context, in a culture of science and technology. I think this is very difficult for us to understand. I think it's difficult because we live in a world in which it is believed that nothing can be hidden from the view of science and technology. And all we have to do is think of X-rays and CAT scans and MRIs and EKGs and EEGs and all of the equipment, the mechanical equipment and electronic equipment that we use to analyze the world, microscopes and telescopes and computers and spacecraft. And we live in a world in which very, very little is thought to be hidden. And this idea of God being hidden here, of course, is connected to the sins of the people, the prophets' recognition of himself even having fallen short, and not being able to feel the presence of God, as we said earlier. But I think it also has to do with the nature of God. That is, our it our connection to God has more to do with patience, and with a love that is for patience. That is a love that is not expectant of something that we want, but is expectant of what love wants, which means that there can be no conditions. This means that I think we have to remove the conditions that we want to place on God during this Advent season. We've had a really difficult year, and of course, we want all sorts of healing and restoration, and all of that is very important. But I think at the base, the healing and restoration requires our being able to completely empty ourselves, and to allow Christ to bring that peace to us. Um, so I want to close. I want to share, and then I'll close with a prayer. I want to share this poem from Meister Eckhart that I've been reading this week as well. And this poem is addressed to himself, but I think it speaks very well to us as well. It's called Your Cart. Your pride, Eckhart, is the root of all your sin. You leave undone what needs doing, having better things to do. And then there is what you do. Need I remind you? But remember, man, the humus, that ground out of which you were formed. Let's close with this word of prayer. And this is a 17th century prayer from a French Catholic bishop, Fenelon. Lord, I know not what I ought to ask of thee. Thou only knowest what I need. Thou lovest me better than I know how to love myself. O God, give to thy child that which he himself knows not how to ask. I dare not ask either for crosses or consolations. I simply present myself before thee. I open up my heart to thee. Behold my needs, which I know not myself. See and do according to thy tender mercy. Smite or heal, depress me or raise me up. I adore all thy purposes without knowing them. I am silent. I offer myself in sacrifice. I yield myself to thee. I would have no other desire than to accomplish thy will. Teach me to pray. Pray thyself in me. Amen. Thank you so much for joining me this morning from Pilgrim Congregational Church. I'm Patrick Horn. I hope you have a great day. Happy Thanksgiving. Goodbye.